All right. I hope y'all day has been going good. Mine definitely has. Y'all, I want to touch bases with y'all, and I kind of steered away from this because I do believe that, the Trump administration and the investigators, the people who actually have been trained to find out exactly what happened, as we all know, these plane crashes that have happened back to back. The first one happening in Washington, D.C. with the Black Hawk helicopter, and then just yesterday, the plane crash in Philadelphia. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of people in there still looking for people's bodies. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just wanted to step away because, media and they're getting information as they come, but I wanted to make sure that we getting like a solid foundation of everything instead of just going to it and saying, hey, let me jump on this. But I do have to tell y'all that I do have two very informative videos from Captain Steve. He's actually he actually flew, flies planes for a living. Done it for many, many, many years. And he pretty much just gives you an insight and detailed informative information of what possibly could have happened just by the auto recordings, because he has the DC auto recording and he also has the Philadelphia auto recording. So we're going to get into that, y'all. They are starting to release names and faces. So I'm just going to stroll through my X and just, we're going to take a look and then we're going to dive into the videos. My heart goes out to all the families who have lost these loved ones. It's very devastating, tragic. There was one guy, I can't get his name, but he was saying that his wife texted him and she was like 20 minutes, you know what I'm saying, before the plane lands. And this was the Washington, D.C. And he said he was trying to, respond to her back, but his messages never got to her. And he's just like, I'm praying that they just find my wife's body. So her body is yet to be found. It is very heartbreaking. Okay. So with that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and get into the videos. We're just going to go ahead and look. This says victims of the DC plane crash thread, Donna Livingston, Peter Livingston, and their daughters, Everly 11, and Adia 14 from Ashburn, Virginia. So it's so sad. Hang on. So these are just, pictures of this family. They have a video right here of them, skating. Okay, so that's that. Such a tragic, y'all. So that's that. I had played it again because I realized I had it small and y'all probably wasn't able to see that. But yes, praying. Man whose wife and son died in the DC plane crash says he called her not knowing what happened. She didn't pick up. Oh, Jesus. So just here's another one. Vital K's 11-year-old son, Sean, and wife Julie are among the 67 victims of the DC plane crash, y'all. So here's just a video
A
of this.
gaping hole in our skating community.
There's a GoFundMe now set up to help Sasha's wife and teenage daughter. There is a growing memorial inside the rink as well.
What's next?
Vitaly K is trying to figure out what comes next after losing his 11-year-old son Sean and his wife Yulia in the crash. He's now trying to be strong for his other 3 children, all skaters here at UD's facility.
Say you're on the ship in the middle of the ocean, right? And you got a hole, right? you gotta go fix that hole first before you can, look at the map and set the direction. So that I'm in the, hole fixing stage now, where I just need to manage immediate damage.
Sean was a fantastically talented young skater. That's why he and his partner Angela were invited to Wichita. Angela and her mom were also killed, as was their coach at UD, a former champion himself, Sasha Kirsanov.
There's a lot of broken people right now. People just grief I've never seen.
Yeah, it's a gaping hole in our skating community.
There's a GoFundMe now set up to help Sasha's wife and teenage daughter. There is a growing memorial inside the rink as well.
What's next?
Vital.
Okay, so it's just they're releasing the names, y'all, of the families. Here's a picture of Peter, Donna, Evelyn, and Dia that lost their lives on that plane crash. What we know about the victims: this is Braylee Bayer, 12, and her mother, 42. Justina, they were both killed, unfortunately, in the plane crash, y'all. The flight attendant, she leaves behind a husband and 2 children. This is just so tragic, y'all. Okay. And it just keeps going. Another teenage skater. They're just showing everyone who was lost. So sad. So y'all can see. All right. Again, my heart goes out to the families that lost their loved ones. I'm praying for y'all, and I'm praying, Lord God, that they find all of the bodies so that these families can be able to, bury their loved ones the way they need to be buried, Lord God. So I'm just asking that you let the teams move quickly and swiftly to get these babies and these people's wives and husbands and children to where they need to be. So I'm just strolling, y'all. Okay. So now, with that being said, y'all, with us watching that, I'm just going to give those a little intel, and then we're going to dive into these videos. Please watch until the end, y'all, because it's very informative information, and I promise y'all can leave this content knowing, getting a better insight of everything. So for those who don't know, let's just catch you up to speed. Washington, D.C. plane crash. A collision occurred involving American Airlines regional jet and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River near the Reagan National Airport. The incident resulted in no survivors among the 67 people on board. Both aircraft marketing is as the deadliest U.S. air disaster in recent years. Okay, so that's just insight. And then, of course, unfortunately, the Philadelphia plane crash that occurred yesterday. Right now, they are still, investigating. I know that they said something about it being like a medical, a patient being on there, a child, and a few other people that were on there, but they haven't given the names yet. This took place, yesterday. I really don't want to show the video because it's so heartbreaking, and then they're still, it's still under investigation. So I just wanted to give you an insight on what happened yesterday with the Philadelphia plane crash, and then we're going to dive into Captain Steve to get his informative information and his insight on what could possibly have taken place. So a medical transport jet with 6 people on board, including a pediatric patient from Mexico and her mother, crashed in Northeast Philadelphia, killing aboard and 1 person on the ground in a car. The plane was en route to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri after departing from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. The crash caused a massive explosion, setting several homes and vehicles ablaze near Roosevelt Mall. 19 people were reported injured, with the number potentially subject to change as the situation evolves. Okay. So again, it's still ongoing investigation. And these literally back-to-back plane crashes. So again, my heart goes out to the families who have lost someone behind these 2 most recent plane crashes. Now, with that being said, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here. Okay. We're going to go here. This is Captain Steve analyzing the mid-air collision over the Potomac, a detailed examination of ATC communications. So this is him listening to the audio. He's a captain himself. So it's just his insight. And I think that this was just like one of the most accurate videos that I have been introduced to. So with that being said, y'all, let's go ahead and get into it.
I'm able to secure the actual audio from the incident over the Potomac last night. Let's listen in together.
Yeah, 789, contact Film Parks today. Okay. American 3130 for the final.
You're going to see a back and forth now between Reagan Tower and the various aircraft that they have lined up on approach into the airport. This happened at about 8:46 p.m. Last evening, and you can see there's several airplanes lined up. That's typical coming in about that time of night at Reagan. They're talking to American Airlines 3130, which I think is number 2 for the runway. They're telling them to slow down to their final approach speed because they're separating everybody on the way in. It's going to turn out that American 3130 is a key player in what happens here.
Hello, American 3130. Pat 25, traffic just off the Wilson Bridge is CRJ.
Pat 25 is the helicopter that ran into the CRJ 700. It was a PSA flight. The flight number is 5342. It would go under the call sign Blue Streak 5342. You don't ever hear them talking to tower. They've already been cleared to land on runway 33. So they would come in on an approach on runway 1, and then they would kind of circle to land on runway 33. It's a little shorter runway, but they take some of the regional jets and they put them on that runway. Pat 25 is the Black Hawk helicopter that is just south of the Woodrow Bridge, and they've just taken off. They're airborne. The tower is saying to them, there's traffic. It's a CRJ. It's at 1,200 feet, lined up for runway 33. Do you have that traffic? Pat 25 is going to call back and say yes.
It's 1,200 feet, start runway 33.
Pat 25 says, has the traffic in sight, request visual separation. What that means is that they're going to take responsibility for visual separation from that aircraft. What happened? Here's what I think happened. This is not the final word on it, but what I think happened was it was at night. There's several airplanes lined up. There is that Blue Streak 5342, which is a CRJ that they ran into. Right behind them, just a few miles, is American 3130. Everybody has their lights on as they're coming in. I believe the helicopter looked at the American 3130 and said, I've got the traffic in sight, and they never saw the airplane, the CRJ that was right next to them. That's my conjecture on what happens.
Visual separation. This separation proof. American 1630 tower, runway 1 lock void, traffic direct from runway 33, dispatch 16 off final.
So this is typical stuff that's going on a busy airport. They're lining somebody up to take off. They're saying, pay attention. I'm going to give you an immediate takeoff here. I've got traffic lining up for runway 33. That's the CRJ that got ran into. And he's on a 6-mile final. It might be somebody even behind him, but they're lining everybody up to take off and to land.
Whiskey 5307. Keep rolling out to November, ground 47 today.
You can see at the bottom of your screen there, the CRJ, the Blue Streak 5342. They're beginning to now kind of come out a little bit to line up to runway, to land on runway 33. They're not going to go right straight down the river. They got to come out a little bit wider and come in. But remember, Pat 25, which is up here, the helicopter at the middle of your screen, they've already said, we accept responsibility for visual separation.
American 1630 1 star 32014, Duck 25, traffic 2 mile up base runway 33, no delay, runway 1 clear for B to
Clears
take off.
American to take off.
Clear for takeoff, American 1630.
Here it comes.
CRJ in sight.
Now the tower is seeing what's happening, and they're saying, do you have the CRJ in sight? Because you guys are getting kind of close. And the Pat 25, the helicopter, says once again, yeah, and I'm asking for visual separation. Okay, the responsibility is on you then.
Pat 25, pass behind this CRJ.
This club has a
aircraft in sight, request visual separation.
Okay, so Pat 25 says, has the aircraft in sight, request visual separation. I don't think they had these guys in sight. I think they had the airplane behind them in sight. That's why this is such a tragedy.
Mm.
American 4782 by Batten, now for visual. American 472, Washington Tower, 1
So you hear somebody in the tower go, oh, and they see what just happened. As you can see in your screen here, the collision took place. The tower has seen it happen in real time. They're human beings. Are reacting just like you and I would. The helicopter ran into the CRJ. The CRJ's airspace was their airspace. In front of them, behind them, on both sides of them, it was a responsibility of the helicopter to maintain visual separation. Yes. They even told him a couple times, do you got him in sight? Do you got him in sight? He said, yep, got him in sight. I'm accepting responsibility for the separation. And I think just like when you're driving in a car and you look and you see a car behind the one that almost hit you, you see that car and you didn't see the one right here. And when you turn out in front, sometimes there's a collision. It's really tragic when this happens in an airplane. Again, it's been decades since there's been a mid-air collision in this country. This is such an unusual circumstance to take place. It's such a tragedy. It's been 12 years since there's been a fatality in a commercial airliner here in the United States. That's unprecedented. And that wasn't a mid-air collision. That was just an accident. This is a mid-air collision, and this hasn't happened in forever. So now we know what's going on here. Pat 25, the helicopter, accepted responsibility for visual separation. They probably had their eyes on the airplane behind them, and then they tragically ran into these guys.
Did you see that? 472. American 3130, go around, turn left in 250, climb maintain 3000.
So now what happens from the tower's perspective is they have to work through denial pretty fast. They just saw this happen in real time in front of them. They're human beings like the rest of us. They're kind of in shock, but they've still got airplanes coming in. They've got American Airlines 1630, which just took off. They've got to hand them off to departure. They got American 3130 that's coming in. They got American 472 behind them. They got to do something with these airplanes, right? The airplane port is going to be shut here in a second. So they're going to start telling all these guys to go around while they're trying to handle the emergency and get the emergency equipment out. And all of that is, everybody's kind of in a little fog for a few seconds here while all of this is taking place. The tragedy of it hits you hard. And they're very professional. Watch how they handle this. But man, they're busy.
Okay, left heading 350, 3000, American 3130. Tower Blue Streak 5347 is on final. Request runway 33, circle to 33. Second heading for American 3130. American 3130, go around, turn left in 270, climb maintain 3000. 270 on the heading, 3000.
See how fast he's talking? He's trying to get all these other airplanes out of here.
Crash. This is alert 3. Crash.
Okay, what's MWAA? It's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. Every airport has some sort of governing authority over it. Many times it's called the Port Authority. Up in Boston, it's Mass Port, right? In New York, it's the Port Authority. Down here in Washington, it's the Metro Washington Airport Authority. They're now announcing officially there's a crash. So they go over the radio and they broadcast to everybody. The tower is the main recipient of this, that there's been a crash. He's going to repeat that. That puts a whole bunch of things into motion all at the same time. The fire crews now are going to jump in their uniforms. They're going to get in their fire trucks. They're going to drive to where the crash is. There's going to be details about this coming. But this whole thing is very frenzied and happens very fast. But these are really highly trained professionals. They do a really terrific job.
Alert 3. Crash. This is alert 3.
And alert 3 is a crash.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Where's the alert 3? It is off the approaching the runway 33. Approaching the runway 33. Helicopter crash. Helicopter. Copy out this morning. Crash. This is alert 3. 2 helicopters.
Okay, so again, fog of war. The first report that they get is that it's 2 helicopters. They're going to clarify this really quickly because the tower is talking back and forth to them. The tower is going to say, nope, it was a CRJ and a helicopter. So they get this, because it's cleared up pretty fast.
Well, Helicopter CRJ approaching runway 33.
That's really fast.
The approaching runway 33, a mile off final. Crash. Kilo CRJ approaching 33. Okay. How many totals on board? We don't have any of that information. Towers reporting a CRJ and a helicopter crash in Potomac River.
So they're passing the information back and forth to the first responders who need it. Everybody's trying to clarify while they're jumping in their trucks and they're heading out there. Now they know exactly where they're going. It's at the approach end of runway 33. It's somewhere in the Potomac. Now they're going to have to coordinate boats and other things. Eventually they're going to get helicopters involved.
Can we go ahead and hold all operations till we have emergency units respond? We're going to go ahead and show the aerodrome closed.
They want to close the airport so they can go.
Yeah, that's affirmative. All operations aerodrome closed.
Everything's closed. Huh?
And everybody just hold your positions, please, on the field right now.
Okay, so this is the ground controller. Now, the ground controller is the one that's going to get all these trucks going where they need to go. But the ground controller needs to stop all the airplanes. So she just makes a blanket broadcast. Everybody stop right where you are. Every once in a while, you kind of half hear that, and then you say, okay, I'm sorry. And there's also people asking to be released from their gate to go. They're not into what's going on yet because they just put their headsets on and they're just getting ready to go. One aircraft's going to ask to do this, and she's just going to say, everybody stop.
South 43, ready for taxi.
Everyone's going to have to hold for down.
No.
I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Fire command. The accident happened in the river. Both the helicopter and the plane crashed in the river. It's east of the approach end of runway 33.
It's amazing to me how much clarity they have about actually what happened and where it happened. Many times in an accident like this, it takes 5 to 10 minutes just to get everything sorted out. They're very good here at getting it all very concise. And so the response time was phenomenal on this.
Is the airfield closed?
Yes, the airfield is closed. The airfield is closed.
Runways as well?
Okay, ARF is the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighters. That's the actual fire chief that's in the fire truck. He's asking, is the airport closed and are all the runways closed as well? That way he can expedite getting out there. He doesn't have to stop and ask, can I cross this runway? Can I go on that taxiway? She's about to tell him the whole place is shut down. You go. You own the airport now.
All runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving at all.
And we have clearance across all taxiways and runways, correct?
Yes, you have clearance through the whole field, all taxiways and runways.
So basically she's saying to these guys, go. And at that moment, the fire trucks take off. What we know about the accident at this point is that there were no survivors. It's now a recovery operation. That's the sad part about all of this. And that's the part that really hits us hard right here. But I know you wanted to hear what happened and maybe my response to how they handled this emergency and what led to it. It looks pretty clear at this point that the helicopter had accepted visual separation. That's when they make that call when they're cleared for that. They said, yep, we've got the airplane in sight. And the airplane they had in sight was the wrong airplane. There was another one in between that and the one that they were looking at. And sadly, they ran into that aircraft. So folks, we're hoping that this never happens again. I know that my annual training, I will certainly get some training on avoiding mid-air collisions. I have over my career, but they will refresh this as more details about this situation comes out. And the really wonderful part about that is they share all of the information they get, the FAA, with every other airline around the planet. So we all can avoid having a tragedy like this happen in the future. We will train to make sure that this never happens again. Well, there you go. Sorry for this, but pray for these people.
Yeah.
Right. I'm Captain Steve, and I'll see you.
Thank you so much, Captain Steve. The most informative video that I've watched, y'all. And y'all hang tight. Hopefully y'all still here with me because I have another video of him and he's actually breaking down the Philadelphia plane crash, y'all. So hang tight. Thank y'all for the ones who are continuing to watch this video because it's very informative. Unfortunately, it is a tragic It is sad, it's devastating, but to get informative information like this can let you just visualize and see what probably could have took place, you know? So let's dive into this one, y'all, breaking down the Philadelphia Air Ambulance crash. What went wrong? This is Captain Steve, y'all. If y'all want to follow him on YouTube, it is Captain Captain. Last name is Steve, and it's spelled Steeeve. Okay, so let's get into it.
In the airplane outside of Northeast Philly, the Learjet that went down just last night, and how incredibly rare it is to have two back-to-back major accidents like this. But let's take a look at what happened last night in Philadelphia.
Medevac, Med-Service 056, on departure, turn right heading 290, runway 24, clear for takeoff, wind 25010.
So the situation here is it's a Medevac flight. It's a Learjet, it's Lear 55. It's a very nice jet. And it's going from Northeast Philadelphia, an airport I know a great deal about. I flew all the time in my military days out of Willow Grove. I was there for about a dozen years, and that's right in the vicinity of Northeast Philadelphia. They fly a lot of these Medevac flights to various places around the world even, but this one's going to Springfield, Illinois. They take off a runway 24. About 60 seconds later, they crash, and there's lots of conjecture about why that happened. I'll tell you in a minute what I think happened. Again, remember, this is just my conjecture about it. There's going to be a whole forensic redo of this whole flight, and that will be the details that come out in the days, weeks, and months to come. But let's take a look at what we know so far.
Medevac Med-Service 056, contact Philly departure 123.8.
123.8, Mike Tango Sierra 056 Medevac. Thank you. Good day.
Okay, let me stop it right there. So this is a routine departure out of any airport. It can take place anywhere around the world. And Medevac takes off, and as soon as they're airborne, they're 400 or 500 feet above the ground when they get handed off to departure control. And so they're given a frequency. What I want you to key into here is the voice of the co-pilot who's talking on the radios. It's completely calm. It's completely normal. It's completely routine. Nothing's going on just yet on this airplane, and I can get that from listening to the tone in the voice. And remember, in aviation, there are three priorities, and they go in this order: aviate, navigate, communicate, in that order. So the first thing is make sure you fly the airplane. That's the aviate part. Keep the airplane, the blue side up, as we say in aviation. Navigate is the next thing. Where are you headed? Where are you going, right? That was an impact in the Reagan incident just at the beginning of the week. And then communicate. That's the third of your priorities. It's not the top of the list. And what's going to happen here is you don't hear another word from these guys. It was absolutely routine when they got handed off, and something happens immediately that causes this airplane to crash. And I'll give you my thoughts on that in just a second.
Med-Service 056 Philadelphia. Med-Service 056 Philadelphia.
So Philadelphia is expecting the handoff from this Medevac flight, and they don't hear anything from them. They never checked in. Something was going on in that cockpit that was preoccupying them, that from the time they got the handoff from Tower to dialing the frequency and talking to Philadelphia, they were busy. They're probably doing a checklist. They're trying to handle whatever emergency it is that is now developed, and it developed that fast. Philadelphia's going to call them a couple of times. Tower's going to try him next.
Medevac Med-Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8.
This is absolutely normal. They'll go back and forth between the Tower and Philadelphia. You see over on the side of your screen here a schematic of the actual video of what's happening to this airplane. I want you to note the steep angle that the airplane is flying at before it impacts the ground.
Med-Service 056 Philly.
Medevac Med-Service, Northeast Tower.
So they're going to continue to call this airplane. They've already crashed. They're never going to respond. And this is a tragedy. And again, we watch this and our hearts just go out to the people on board that airplane and the people on the ground as well. So what happened here Well, we don't know a whole lot. And again, in the long run, we're going to find out the details. There's a couple of things that take place here. And I'm looking at the angle of the airplane as it hits the ground. That steep angle doesn't happen. The pilots can't create that. This isn't a matter of the pilot pushed over the airplane. It would be very hard to create that steep an angle from that altitude. Most likely, this airplane stalled. And now, what's a stall? A stall is not like in your car where the engine just stops running. A stall in an airplane is when the wing, the flow of air over the wing is disrupted. It stops flowing properly. And then that wing loses lift. Typically, when that happens, and again, there are several critical phases of flight. The most critical is the takeoff phase of flight. Why is that? You're the heaviest you're ever going to be. You've got your power pushed all the way up, and you're going slow. You're going to accelerate as you get up to altitude. You're going to reconfigure the airplane by bringing the landing gear up, retracting the flaps and those sort of things. So the airplane becomes even more aerodynamic. So at this point, they're at the most, what we would call in aviation, the most critical phase of flight. And something happens to disrupt the lift over the wings. That's my conjecture on this. At that point, the nose of the airplane, which is kind of up like this, is going to drop steeply. It's going to fall through. One of the wings is going to stop creating lift, and the airplane's going to either go on its back or the nose is going to come sharply down. And that's where you get that steep angle now that you see on the screen where they impacted the ground. Now, if you're up at altitude and that happens, you have altitude to lose to recover because the air will start flowing back over that wing as the nose drops through. When you're this close to the ground, there's no time to recover. And that's what happened to these folks, I think. Why would the airplane stall? One of two possible big reasons. One is the center of gravity on the airplane was off. Maybe it was way too far in the back and it caused the nose to pitch up, which would create a disruption in the lift over the wing. The air is not flowing smoothly over the wing, or they lost an engine or two and they lost all their thrust. Let's put it that way. They lost enough thrust that the airplane stalled and the nose fell through. So at this point now, we're not going to get anything else from Philadelphia or anybody else. I do want you to look a couple times at the angle of this flight. And I want you to understand that this airplane didn't get airborne for more than about 60 seconds. When we look at its flight path, it comes straight off of runway 24. It's climbing out straight ahead as it would have been cleared to do. At the very end of this video that we just watched, there's a little veer to the left before they impact the ground, and that would be characteristic also of a stall. The left wing was the one that probably dipped down first. The nose fell through, and the airplane went just slightly off to the left. I'm grabbing a lot from just a bit of the video here. But again, it's very sad. Now, what does this have to do with the accident outside of Reagan? Well, the two most critical phases of flight, obviously, are taking off and landing. Now, where the two incidents are really totally different is that there's a lot to look at in the DCA accident. The regional jet was in a very tight airspace. They were cleared to land. The airspace in front of them, behind them, and on both sides of them belongs to that commercial jet. The helicopter was talking to the tower. They accepted visual separation rules from the tower. They said they had the airplane in sight. And my conjecture on that video was they were looking at the wrong airplane. They thought they had visual separation on the airplane. The only problem was it wasn't the airplane the tower was talking about. That's human error. Again, we're going to find out in the weeks and months ahead what actually happened, but I think that played a huge factor in it. In this one, we simply don't know. All we know is that the co-pilot had a completely normal voice, and from the time he got handed that frequency to start talking to departure control, something happened, and it happened quickly. It happened so quickly that the airplane stalled, in my opinion, and then just did that nosedive down into the ground. Now, the question that's going to come back to all of us is this: is it safe to fly? And I've been inundated with emails and texts over the last few days. Captain Steve, tell us it's safe to fly. And the answer is absolutely yes, it's safe to fly. Look, I want you to put this in perspective. Every day, all around the world, there are tens of thousands of departures, takeoffs, and landings all around the world. That goes on day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. The last time there was a major airline accident in this country, in the U.S., with fatalities was over a dozen years ago. I can't even remember the last time there was a mid-air collision like there was at DCA this week. It's been decades since that has happened. And there have been millions of flight events that have gone on in between that. The problem is when two accidents take place so close to each other, boy, it really makes us nervous. And I understand that, folks.
Yes.
I get that. You're asking me, is it safe to get on an airplane? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm about to get on an airplane tomorrow. I'm going to fly from Charlotte Douglas International Airport all the way over to London, and I'm going to bring 300 of my best friends with me. It's absolutely safe to get in an airplane. Your pilots are exceedingly well trained. They are very seasoned and very experienced. And again, the system has not failed. These are just two coincidences that took place so close to each other. Yeah, it does make us kind of nervous, and I understand that. If you can, come along with me tomorrow night. I got the 8:30 departure out of Charlotte Douglas. I'm headed to London, and we're going to have a good time together. Hopefully, I can put all my passengers at ease before we depart, because I understand how nervous this gets.
Yeah.
But as I always say at the end of my videos, I want you to fly safe. And folks, you can rest assured that the system is okay and you can fly safe. Well, there's my thoughts on it. I'm Captain Steve.
Thank you so
Do you
much.
know what today is?
Okay. Thank you so much, Captain Steve. I hope y'all were able to get the informative information or what you needed out of it. Again, this is him giving his insight, on the situation, because he is a captain. He does fly. Yeah, y'all. So again, it's tragic. It's sad what has happened. Heartbreaking.
Well, unfortunately,
But
we have another air.
for me to just actually be able to get his breakdown, listening to the audio, and then, listening to what he has to say about it. Again, they're still investigating. They're still, recovering bodies. But this just gave me, in the beginning, we didn't know like what happened. And, like I said, media was grabbing it here. They were saying this, they were saying that. But to actually come from a captain who has been doing this for so many years, and just listening to the audio ourselves and then hearing his perspective on it made me kind of be like, you know what? Yeah. But eventually, we will start to get the answer. But I just hope that this helped just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Again, my heart goes out to the families. Y'all, again, I told y'all I did not want to just jump right on this, because I was, waiting for more informative information, because it's here, it's there. They're saying this, they're saying that. And it's a tragic. People have literally lost their loved ones. Some people, bodies have not been found yet. And it's just an ongoing investigation process. So with that being said, y'all, I hope y'all were able to get something out of this. Until the next reaction, y'all, video. Stay safe, remain safe, y'all. And yeah, let's talk in the comment section, y'all. Let me know y'all thoughts. I'm out.